Hello and welcome back to Newsarama.com's coverage of the New York Comic Con. I'm Justin Tyler here with Alex Zalbin, and we're talking with Jesse Snyder.
Hey guys.
Hello, welcome, thank you.
Oh, absolutely, man. First one of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bright and early at 12:30.
Fresh faucet. Still.
Just woke up. We actually slept in these chairs.
Yeah.
Dude, it's nutty out there.
Yeah.
I was trying to get here. It took me forever.
Oh, well, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah,
and of
absolutely.
course, you're here to talk about Dead Romeo, your series for DC.
Yes,
so tell us a
my
little bit
first
about
DC thing. Well, it comes out in April and takes place in the DCU. You know, it's a vampire romance. You know, I got really kind of pissed off, like, year after year of all these vampire things that were, like, appealing to one gender. You know, like the Anne Rice stuff. Yeah, well, the Anne Rice stuff is written for girls, you know. I mean, it is. And some of it is so good that guys can get into it. You know, and From Dusk Till Dawn does not have a female in mind, you know, at all.
Great
you know?
thing to
So I said, and we both love it. You know, girls love vampires, boys love vampires, everybody loves it. So, you know, when I sat down, I just said, you know what, this has got to appeal to both, you know, both groups, just be across the board. And, you know, not just Twilight and all the guys are kind of like yawn, you know. So, so that was really what I set out to do, you know, make, you know, cool romance, you know, that appeals to women, with that being like the focal point, but it's violent as hell. You know, dismemberment is in the solicitation for a reason. So,
Wow, bold, it's a bold mission statement.
yeah, that was, put that in bold. I was like,
And
dismemberment.
So where in the DC universe does it take place?
Well, I said it in LA because I just spent like 4 months out there, and you know I pretty much only lived in New York and Florida for a little bit, but you know, not in like the city, nowhere like really special. So I lived out in LA, and I was like, I kind of know the city, might as well like place it somewhere where you know, and it worked in really good with like the lead character. I got this backstory with him. I needed an excuse to put him in like some reasonably cool clothing, so I was like, well, I'll make it that he died in the '80s and he was in a rock band. So he's like a glam rocker, and that makes sense to be in LA, and like, you know, all my vampires like who are all, you know, brought back from the dead, they all came back at different time periods. So like I got so many freaking bad guys. I got 7 bad guys. It starts out as 8, but one dies in the first issue. But they're all died at different points in time in like California's history. So there's one cowboy vampire, you know, who died in, you know, in the Old West, and you know you can freaking shoot up a storm. And then I got like a California beach bodybuilder vampire, and you know, granted he wasn't at the beach after he became a vampire, but and like some, you know, kung fu guy from the '70s, and like just all these different like time periods that I like drawn from, because it was the one thing that was different, you know, with our book, because people were coming back, you know, so I could have them be from whatever, you know, era that I wanted.
Every good vampire tale has rules, right? You know, rules for how the vampires work and whatnot. When you're doing it in the DC universe proper and vampires have already existed there, do the DC brass, do they tell you these are how vampires work in DC, or do you make up your own rules?
You know what? DC's rules have been pretty traditional. You know, like they've kept to the, you know, like the real old school, you know, no mirrors and like, you know, that kind of stuff. So I haven't really contradicted anything. I've kind of built on like the lore a little bit, and the one thing that I built on, because I wanted to have fun and make it, you know, real violent and like cool, was that basically what I've decided is that the vampires can heal from anything as long as they can feed. So a vampire who can't feed, you know, he's going to die, you know. But if he's got blood, you know, they're growing back limbs, and, you know, I mean, they can just keep coming back as long as they keep feeding. And actually, at the beginning of the book, one of the vamps who was supposed to be brought back, who he gets buried alive in not a coffin, but in a prison, because he was, you know, killed during, like, you know, the Puritan. Well, they tried to kill him during the Puritan days. And there's an epitaph on his tombstone. He's the main bad guy, and it's, you know, here lies White Fry, a crazy man who would not die, was stabbed, was shot, but still survived, and so we buried him alive. And you know, and it was this great thing that, you know, that hell didn't bother to bring him back, because he was locked in this chest down in the ground, and it took him like 300 years to die. And you know, not 300, but like 200 years. And you know, he finally died. They were like, we're not gonna bother bringing him back. So they gotta like unlock him, and they like just open up this lady's, you know, throat and just drop all this blood into her, and he, like, you know, comes alive, you know, just, and it's just like, oh, a vampire skeleton, blood, aha, he's back, you know.
Wow.
Exactly. So I didn't contradict anything. I just kind of played into it and, you know, gave it some rough science, you know, like blood equals life.
That is pretty rough science.
I wouldn't actually call that science.
Yeah.
Well, cool, and that hits April 1st?
Yeah, April 1st. The first issue comes out, so.
Great.
That's no
Pretty
joke.
excited.
Oh, nice one.
Thanks for talking to us, Jesse, and stay tuned for playing more from Comic-Con.